What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel. I've put together an entire marathon of every single Halloween decorate with me and VLOG-O-WEEN that I have ever done on this channel in preparation for this year's spooky season. I have uploaded a marathon in the past, but I just thought it would be a really fun video to have everything all in one place and to see the evolution of the decor over the years, how ideas change and how things take shape. I just find that really interesting, and it's just a nice video to put on in the background when you want to have some Halloween inspiration, get some ideas, and just to get in the mood and get the vibes going. Since this is such a long one, definitely grab some spooky snacks or a festive fall beverage and enjoy the vibes. So the night before, I laid out all of the items I thought I wanted to use so they would be ready to go in the morning. It was a beautiful rainy autumn day, so I put on my favorite playlist, lit a candle, made myself a cup of coffee, and got myself ready for a full day of decorating. So the first thing I did was I started with the base of the mantle. I knew that I wanted to use the Hocus Pocus mantle scarf that I bought, so I put that down first. It took me a good 20 minutes to adjust it, not gonna lie, and then after I got that nice and secured, I decided to add a black velvet runner on the top to create some depth and some texture. This is something that we had left over from our wedding in May, which I still have a video coming up about that if you're interested. I wanted the black velvet runner to look a little crumpled and disheveled to create some dimension for all of the pieces that I was going to add afterwards. So once I laid that down and had it how I liked it, I began with some of the highlight pieces that I knew that I wanted to use, including the beautiful Headless Horseman statue and a candelabra. And then I added in some spooky trees, as well as the haunted house that I got from Big Lots and the gorgeous candle pedestals that I picked up at Bath & Body Works. At this point, I realized I needed to move the spooky trees over a bit because they were covering up the mirror and kind of closing the scene in, and I wanted to widen it up a bit, and I figured moving them over would help with that. And then I realized that I really didn't want to use the haunted house, so I took that out and decided to use my little raven on the stack of books, which I really loved because it really adds that gothic Edgar Allan Poe kind of feel to the mantle, which is totally what I was going for. I decided that I didn't want to put any candles on the pedestals. I just felt that putting two different Bath & Body Works candles on the mantle at the same time was just a bit much, and instead I used the pedestals as just a little bit of height for some of the smaller items I knew I wanted to use. Next, I took a gold chalice that was left over from our wedding and I filled it with cobwebs and black roses, and I wasn't sure at first if I wanted it to lay on its side or stand up, but I liked it both ways, and I think ultimately I did go with it standing up, but I thought it added just a nice little extra gothic touch to the mantle. After ruminating for a while of how I was going to decorate the 𝗟ci, I decided to go with something similar that I did last year. I used this little styrofoam skull and then covered it with some creepy cloth as well as some green moss and spiders. One of the best ways to make your Halloween mantle pop is definitely adding in a black feather boa. This is the second year I've done this, and it absolutely just brings everything together and totally transforms the scene. So the further along that I got with this theme, I realized that it was kind of reminding me a little bit of Borgin and Burke's from Harry Potter, that shop on Knockturn Alley, and I was totally loving it. For the past couple of years, I was using bats that my husband and I had made, but they were kind of falling apart, so I decided to buy some new ones on Amazon that I felt looked a little bit better. I had so much fun putting this look together, and I really love how it turned out. Now it's time to add some really creepy cobwebs. It was finally time to break out the Webcaster gun, and we were so excited to use it. You hook up the Webcaster gun to an air compressor, and then it shoots out the hot glue like cobwebs. This is what they use on film sets, in haunted houses, and it really creates that authentic, spooky look. Although we went a little heavier than we would have liked to, we still were really pleasantly surprised with how everything turned out. We really love it, and I cannot wait to show you guys at the end of the video how amazing all of this looks at night. Next, I moved on to the coffee table. Lately, I've been going for a really Art Deco meets modern inspiration for our living room, and I'm just all about the black and gold now because we got a new couch and it just so happened to have gold legs, and I just had this total vision for just an Art Deco meets modern vibe for the living room. And then magically Joann's came out with an Art Deco Halloween collection, and I pretty much lost my mind. And I noticed this after I did my Halloween haul, so I'm really sorry I didn't get to show you guys what I did pick up from Joann's, but you'll see a few items here. And I still want to keep our decor pretty minimal, which is why you'll only see a few pieces on the table. Next, I started decorating our dining table. I went for a similar base that I used last year, but instead of leaving the cobwebs stretched out on the table alone with a runner, I decided to put a spider web tablecloth over it, and I felt like it looked really nice. I wanted to keep this tablescape again pretty minimal. I wanted to set the table again, so I didn't want to go too crazy on the tablescape. I wanted it to look clean and gothic and classy. I used the black roses from the Dollar Tree again to create a base around the candelabra. And then once I had all of my pieces set up for the tablescape, I weaved some creepy cloth around everything again to create more dimension and depth to the tablescape. I really love playing around with different materials and different textures to elevate my holiday decor. I covered these silver chargers with a little bit of black cobwebs, and then I added in these matte black plates that I got from Target. Then on top, I added these plates that I made last year. I hand painted these just as a nice little extra touch for the dining table. I don't believe that you can eat off of them, but I still think that they look pretty cute. Next, I just added some matte black silverware as well as some cobwebs in the cups, just so it looks like it's bubbling over, if you will, like it's mimicking dry ice coming out of the glass. Next was my very favorite place to decorate, which was the bar area. Now, you're seeing me start out doing this one way, but I quickly realized that I wanted to do it different because I kind of did this last year and I didn't want to repeat myself too much. So I started out doing this just to get it going, and then I changed my mind and I lined up the bottles in a different way and decided to use that skull tray further down on the bar, as you'll see later. I didn't want to overcrowd the top of the bar, but I felt that it was missing something, so I added in this fall garland as well as some fairy lights that I got on Amazon, and I feel like it really tied everything together. Aside from themed liquor bottles, I did pick up some of this Liquid Death sparkling water, and from there I added in some of our very favorite cocktail books to the bar. I picked up these really awesome light up ice cubes from Amazon, and let me tell you, if you want to take your drinks to the next level, this is all you need. And then I also got these really beautiful Art Deco inspired rocks glasses. But what you're about to see is my very favorite thing that we own in this house right now, which is a Michael Myers tiki mug. This is made by 𝓒𝓃𝗃𝗲𝓄𝓃. They make some of the coolest tiki mugs I've ever seen. They have a lot of horror inspired tiki mugs, and I believe they have like Star Wars and just really iconic characters. This was just an absolute must-have for me. My husband and I really enjoy making tiki drinks, so I ordered these Halloween tiki umbrellas from this really awesome Etsy shop. It was my goal to use these umbrellas in a Halloween cocktail video, which I don't think I'm gonna get around to it before Halloween, so if that's something you guys would still want to see, like a spooky cocktail video, let me know in the comments below. My husband is a really amazing self-taught mixologist, and I'm not too shabby myself, so we really wanted to do that together. So let me know if that's something you want to see soon, and I will work on that for you. Also, yes, I did bring corn stalks in the house. If you can have a Christmas tree in the house, you can bring corn stalks in the house. I just got rid of the corn so there wouldn't be any bugs, and I decorated them the way that I would at my parents' house. I really missed seeing those corn stalks, so I had to have a piece of home with me. I fell completely in love with the atmosphere that they created for the bar. I'm really happy with how everything turned out, and this is one of my favorite spots in the house. Next, I moved on to decorating the tier tray in our coffee area. This is one of my favorite parts in the house to decorate because it's where I spend a lot of my time. Coffee connoisseur over here. But I knew that I wanted to keep my Bones coffee front and center, and then I used that little Halloween tree that I bought at Michael's, and I put some coffee stir sticks in my 𝗟ci𝘃𝗲 mug. And then I added in some fall garland and fairy lights again to tie everything together. I finally got to use that votive candle that I got at Home Goods, the one that had a brother that broke on the way home, and then I paired that with some little ghost marshmallow peeps, which I like to do every year because they're just so cute. These are those made good snacks that I was talking about. They are free of all major allergens. I have a peanut allergy, so I have to be careful when I have anything sweet. This is one of the only things that I feel safe having now and again, so I made sure to keep my cauldron stocked. So that's it for the decorate with me portion. Now we're finally going to move on to the most exciting part of this video, which is the cinematic house tour. I'm going to show you guys what everything looks like lit up at night. I hope you enjoy. So a few days before I started decorating, I brought in all of the Halloween totes that were in our garage, and this was a collection of not only my husband and I's Halloween decor, but as well as my parents. So I had double the amount of decor to work with this year, and I'm not gonna lie, it was a little overwhelming, but also really exciting because I had a lot of choices of what themes I could go for in certain rooms of the house. Just as I did last year, I decided to bring up all of the items that I knew I wanted to use. I had separated them by color scheme and by theme, so I could create a cohesive theme wherever I was decorating. So that same evening, I decided to start decorating, so I grabbed myself a tasty beverage, and then I put on one of my favorite spooky movies, which was The Addams Family, and I began decorating. So this area has now taken place of the mantle area that I was decorating in my previous videos. This is a very old saloon piano that I bought off of an old friend, and I have been in love with it ever since, and we have made it a staple of decorating in my parents' home for many years now. I really wanted to give it a new theme this year, so this was very inspired by the film Trick or Treat, as well as just very classic, vintage, Halloween-y vibes. I kept the theme black and orange with just a little touch of white. My goal was to remain very loyal to classic Halloween icons like the Headless Horseman, a haunted house, the orange and black witch, the autumn leaves. I felt like less was more with this piano this year, and I just tried to keep it very simple and very classic, and I feel like we pulled it off. After finishing up with the velvet runner, I added in the Gothic candle pedestals from Bath & Body Works. I like to use these as a bit of extra height for some smaller items that I like to highlight. I then added in some mini pumpkins, these glittery witch boot tea light candle holders, which are amazing. And then I added in one of my very favorite candles from 𝗟ci𝘃𝗲𝓅, which smells like you just dumped out an entire bag of Halloween candy, and it's incredible. Lastly, I added in one of my very favorite Halloween signs that we have, which is this really adorable vintage owl. And I also added in some pumpkin lights that we've had for a long time, but they really remind me of Sam's sucker from Trick or Treat. We just have that classic jack-o'-lantern look, which just really reminds me of Trick or Treat. And at the end of the montage, you'll see more of the Trick or Treat elements thrown into the entire piano aesthetic. So definitely stay tuned for the end of the video for that. Next up, you know we had to do it to him. We broke out the Webcaster gun for a second year, and we had so much fun with it this time around. I really feel like the cobwebs turned out even better this year than they did last year, because last year we went super heavy, and this year we went a little bit lighter and a little bit more spread out with the cobwebs. So if you guys have never seen the Webcaster gun before, please check out last year's decorating video as well as my haul video from last year, and I explain a little bit more about what it is and how to use it, but it really creates the most natural and theatrical looking cobwebs that you could possibly imagine. I really love the look that the Webcaster gun creates, and I'm just thrilled with the end result. Stay tuned for the end of the video to see how all of this looks at night. It was the next day, and it was a very beautiful rainy autumn day, so I decided to decorate our coffee bar area. So before I got started, I put on my favorite playlist and made myself a cup of Bones coffee, which if you've been watching me for a while, you know is my favorite. So I lit a candle and just got all of the vibes ready to go to have a beautiful time decorating. So I started off this area by cleaning off my new tiered tray with my very favorite Mrs. Meyer's spray in the acorn spice scent, which is literally fall in a bottle. It is incredible. It will just make your home smell like a complete autumn paradise. I began decorating the tiered tray by piling on all of my very favorite current spooky mugs, and I tried to place them in a way where there was a lot of symmetry in the colors and the height of the mugs before I began placing more decorative items. Next, I added in the spooky ghost that I got at Michael's, as well as this little vintage cat, some Halloween straws, and some coffee stir sticks in my 𝗟𝓲𝓷 mug. Next, I added in some candy corn, which is always my favorite thing to do on a tiered tray. And then I realized that I didn't really like the mug that I chose to put the candy corn in because I knew that I wanted to pile on some little marshmallow ghost peeps. I didn't really think the ghost on ghost look was really gonna work. So I took the candy corn out of the ghost mug and I poured it into the skull mug that I got from TJ Maxx, and that worked out perfectly. After the candy corn, I added in some more fall leaves, which, as you guys know, I feel transforms literally anything. If you want to make any area that you are decorating feel more like Halloween and more like fall, just use some autumn leaf garland. I mean, it is a great filler. It adds a little extra oomph to any area that you feel just needs a little extra something, and I highly recommend using them literally everywhere. Next, I added some cobwebs into the bottom of my ghost mug because I knew that I wanted to add some short straws to the bottom tier to kind of balance out the decor on the top. Next, I moved on to my coffee shelf above the tiered tray, and I just played around with a different arrangement of things. I knew that I wanted to use that trick or treat sign that I bought at Michael's. I also added in that 𝗟𝓲𝓷 ghost canister, as well as a spooky tree and various classic Halloween items. This was another area where I was really going for just a very classic Halloween vibe. I wanted to create symmetry, but I didn't want to cover up the sign too much, so I just mixed and matched different items until I got something that felt complete. I also added some of those fairy lights that I showed you guys last year, the amazing set of fairy lights from Amazon that has every setting in the world to choose from. They are so gorgeous. So I added the fairy lights on top of the autumn leaf garland just to bring everything to life. Lastly, I started working on decorating the bottom of the coffee bar, and I didn't want to overcrowd this area, and I also wanted it to stay a little bit functional. So I played around with the placement of some of the mugs that I wanted to use, which was a collection of Rae Dunn pumpkin mugs, which were very cute and very minimalist, which I enjoyed. I used my 𝗟𝓲𝓷 Halloween is Everyday rug. I just felt it went really well with our black kitchen, and then I just added in some velvet pumpkins on the bottom as well as more fall garland. My cat Mayhem, she just had to join in on the fun. She's so nosy and she has to watch everything that I do, but I really enjoy having her by my side as my little furry companion and just entertain her and play with her every chance I get. I love her so much, and I just love that she came to join me while filming my video. So that's a wrap for the coffee bar area, and now we are going to move on to decorating the bar cart in my office slash beauty room. So in my office, I went for a spooky desert themed bar cart, which was a little difficult to pull off, but in my office, I've been going for more of a desert theme lately. I really wanted to bring in elements of the desert, but still be able to keep it spooky. So I started off by adding in that cow skull that I got from at home, as well as the sweater weather candle, because I felt that it just tied that desert theme together with the blue and the orange. And then I added in my cactus plant, as well as this pumpkin mouth dude filled with all of my favorite bath bombs, some of them being fall scented and one little cactus. I really like the idea of putting my bath bombs in there, and I can just pull one out whenever I'm in the mood for just some spooky bath time action. Because best believe I'm still going to be celebrating Halloween for at least a week or two after Halloween, because honestly this video takes me so long to make that I kind of have to extend my celebrations into November, so it is what it is. I then added in some fall garland, some fairy lights, some of my very favorite autumn fragrances, which I do have an autumn fragrance video coming up for you guys very soon. I wanted to get it up earlier, but you know, time flies. So that'll be coming up very soon. And then I added in some wine glasses filled with some candy corn and cobwebs, as well as another one of my favorite bottles of wine, which is the Witch's Brew. And obviously my Queen of Halloween sign had to come into play here because it's my office and I am the Queen of Halloween, or so everyone tells me. I then added in some cobwebs and then followed that up with a candle that my dad actually got me last fall. So I've been trying to burn it sparingly because it's one of the last things that he bought me that I really treasure. So I felt it was only appropriate to keep it on my bar cart, so every time I see it and I burn it, I can think of him. So that's it for the office bar cart. I kept it really simple and I really love how this turned out. It was just the perfect amount of Halloween and spooky vibes mixed with my desert motif going on. It just really sets the mood in here and I'm really pleased with it. So we are moving on to my very favorite part of the house that I decorated, which was our Tiki Bar area. And it was very inspired by Porco Tiki Lounge, which was closed for the longest time. So we said, why not just make our own Tiki Bar in our basement? So that's what we did. And I could not wait to decorate it for Halloween. So I started out by adding in this green leafy garland, as well as some monstera leaf placemats, and then I added in our pineapple drink tray and some spooky themed liquor bottles to the mini bar. I then added in something similar to what I did last year, which was the little black cauldron with some green cobwebs. Green cobwebs create just this bubbling cauldron effect, and I really loved how the green of the cobwebs and the orange of the Witch's Brew bottle really tied in the color scheme. Next, I added in the skeleton hand holding the cocktail glass, as well as some Halloween cocktail picks, and then I decided to repurpose this poison apple candle holder and instead used it to hold some tiki straws, and I thought it ended up looking like the spookiest little pineapple. I don't know, that's just me. After stacking some of our favorite cocktail books, I then added in some more of those LED ice cubes, and I just put them in these awesome tiki glasses that my husband got for his birthday, and I decided to set all of them to blue and green, which I feel like added a really cool effect. I decided to add some cobwebs to the tropical birds just to give them a spookier effect. I really loved putting these gummy worms and spiders in this giant margarita glass. It added so much color and it made the bar so much more fun. Next, I moved on to our liquor shelf, and I started off by highlighting this amazing on-theme bottle of rum and this little pirate guy that we've had for so many years now, and I just thought they paired really well together on the shelf. I then added in this awesome bedazzled skull that I got at home last year, which I felt looked very pirate themed with the pearl in the eye socket, and then the sequins had a little bit of red. I then added some creepy cloth on the sides of the liquor shelf, and then added in the 2 skeleton fish that I bought at home this year. Then I decided to add some fishing net that I bought on Amazon to the Tiki Bar just to give it more of a shipwrecked effect. I really enjoyed using this fishing net when my husband and I were an undead pirate and a sea siren for Halloween a few years ago, and I figured I would add some back into this year's decor. We were both really big fans of John Carpenter's The Fog, so I tried to lightly give this area down here just a little bit of that vibe. And in my decor in general, I also take a lot of inspiration from Halloweekends, which is held at Cedar Point, which is our nearest amusement park. We love the atmosphere there so much, so I've been really inspired over the years by their special effects, so I try to weave some of that inspiration into all of my Halloween decor. Finally, I added in these color-changing RGB light bulbs and these awesome side table lamps that blended in really well with the Tiki Bar. I ended up putting them on the floor behind the bar so that they would give the bar a really spectacular, eerie glow. So I added some final touches. First, I decided to take my posable skeleton that I used last year. Last year I had the skeleton dressed as 𝓟𝓲𝓽𝓵𝓲𝓷 from The Sims, but this year I decided to dress the skeleton as a pirate, obviously to fit with the theme. Later on, before I shot the montage, I did buy the pirate a hook and an eye patch, so you guys will see that at the end of the video, and it really tied the whole look together, and I'm really thrilled about it. Then I decided to bring down our ocean wave projector, which it was like a last minute decision and I can't believe it didn't occur to me sooner, but it really transformed the entire atmosphere. I loved it so much that I bought a second one to project onto the tarot card area, which you will see in the night montage at the end of the video. So here's the final look of the Tiki Bar area during the day, and I am so excited to show you guys what it looks like lit up at night. Let's move on now to the spooky Art Deco living room. Next, I decorated our living area, which is kept as an Art Deco theme all year round, but around Halloween time, I kick it up 12 notches and I make it very over-the-top Art Deco, but spooky. So of course, I had to put on Metropolis, and the first thing I focused on was a new addition to our living area, which is this gorgeous smoked glass bar cart. I started out decorating the bar cart by adding in one of the most fitting liquor bottles that we have, which is this gorgeous Sexton Irish whiskey. I really have always loved this bottle so much. I then added in some more of our Art Deco Halloween elements from last year, as well as this crystal cocktail glass holder with the Art Deco glasses that we used last year, but I do come to find at a moment that they do not fit very well on this tray, so I end up going back to the original glasses that it came with, which actually fit much better. And I added in some leftover cocktail napkins from our wedding, which I felt fit perfectly. After playing around with the placement of everything on the top tier, I did move on to the bottom tier of the bar cart, where I added in some very spooky and themed wine bottles. And the bottle of Avalon wine also has a very special and significant meaning to my husband and I. So not only did it fit in with the theme of the black and gold, but it also had a really special meaning for us. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Dr. Phibes films, but I've watched them recently and it totally blew my mind how Art Deco they were. I had no idea, and I've been in love with Art Deco decor and history for years now, and I had no clue that these classic Vincent Price films were all Art Deco inspired. It just blew my mind. My mom showed them to me and we had a really wonderful time watching them together. If you have not seen the Dr. Phibes films, please watch them right away. They're currently on YouTube. Go watch them. They will prove to you how many films were inspired by Dr. Phibes. Dr. Phibes was ahead of its time, and I applaud it for its originality, for its style, for its set design and plot. It was just so entertaining, and I highly recommend these films to you guys if you have not seen them. Next, I moved on to the coffee table, and you guys, I found this gorgeous table runner on the TJ Maxx website, which I never thought I was going to receive, okay? My package took forever to arrive, and I did not think I was going to get it in time, but I was ecstatic when I finally received it. It's got black and gold beading, and it's just the most beautiful runner I've ever seen. And then I added in that black and gold platter from At Home and made a little centerpiece out of it with those glitter pumpkins and some black rocks, as well as that I Lit the Black Flame candle from Spirit Halloween. I then decorated a little tray that we have on the other side of the coffee table, and I added in a toucan candle holder that I got from Bath & Body Works this year. And then I added in this gold 𝗟ci𝘃𝗲 mug that I decided to use temporarily as a vase. Next, I added in this charcuterie board that I got from Anthropologie last year, and then on top of it, I put a golden black bowl that I got from TJ Maxx that I filled with black cobwebs and then added in a marble skull on top. Finally, I added some bats to the wall above our bar cart because I felt like the wall really needed something to tie in the entire look, just to add an extra spooky touch, and I feel like they turned out beautifully. Before moving on, you guys know I had to put on one of my favorite movies of all time, which is John Carpenter's Halloween. Of course, it's necessary. And on this evening, I decided to decorate our dining table. You guys know that I love to use cobwebs on my dining table every year. I decided to use a giant set of cobwebs this year to cover the entire table, so at the end of stretching it out, it almost looks like fog billowing from the table. I just absolutely love the effect that this gives off, but it does take a lot of stretching and manipulating of the cobwebs to get it to cooperate. Stretch it out to the bottom of the table, and at the end you are left with a beautiful foggy effect. On top of the cobwebs, I added in another velvet runner to begin the tablescape. And next I added in the branchy black wreath with the candelabra and black roses with the eyeballs. I just think that they create such a gorgeous, simple, spooky look. It's really hard for me to get away from it because it just works so well. So I had to do it at least one more time. Next I added in this bird cage that we just spray painted black. And then I added in a black crow as well as the cloche that I decorated last year. Next, I added in some ceramic skulls that we've had for years, as well as those skeleton hand votive holders. I finished off the tablescape by again adding more creepy cloth and draping it in places that I felt appropriate, like over the birdcage and one of the ceramic skulls. And I also added in those very Borgin & Burke's Harry Potter-esque taper candles from Spirit Halloween. I then set the table similarly to how I did last year. I used these spider placemats as well as some matte black plates, the small white plates that I hand painted, as well as these beautiful spider bowls and matte black silverware. Lastly, I added some short cocktail glasses with more of those LED light up ice cubes with the cobwebs on top to create that glowing dry ice effect. Once again, we broke out the Webcaster gun to finish the look off with a very spooky effect. Now it's finally time for the very best part of this video, which is the montage of all of the decor lit up at night. I hope you guys enjoy. per usual. I brought in all of the Halloween totes from our storage. Over the years, we have amassed quite the collection, so it is pretty overwhelming at first. I packed them away last year in a way that I knew would help me out this year. After going through the totes, I laid everything out on our dining table and I separated all the items by color scheme and by theme. This is just a really good process to use to just get your thoughts organized, and it will help you envision how you're going to decorate each area. I already brought those corn stalks in the house, so I put those opaque orange lights on those corn stalks. I grabbed a really vibey drink and we got started on the piano. I like to kick off the process by starting with our piano. I use it as a centerpiece to decorate every year, much like a fireplace mantle. I like to keep the theme very classic Halloween by highlighting pieces that represent all of the main icons of Halloween, or what we personally love the most about it. A haunted house, spooky trees, and the headless horseman are always essential, but I loved adding in this skull jack-o'-lantern this time around as it really reminds me of Halloween too. Fairy lights in this luminary is always a staple, and I just love this orange and black witch. I stuck with a strictly orange, black, and white color scheme throughout the process, which made it easier to narrow down the items that I was working with. I also keep symmetry in mind the entire time. If you ever need to fill up some space, you can always add in a black feather boa, as I did here, or some autumn leaf garland. Both are great choices when you feel that your decor just needs a little extra something. I love adding this garland in combination with these LED jack-o'-lantern lights that my parents have had for many years, but nowadays it gives me such a trick-or-treat vibe, and I absolutely love it. Really reminds me of 𝓟𝓪𝓲𝓽𝓵𝓲𝓷. Next, I added in a black velvet runner for some texture along with these velvet pumpkins. I then incorporated my favorite vintage-inspired pieces to the piano to tie the whole classic Halloween theme together. Lastly, we resurrected the Webcaster gun to finish the look off with some spooky cinematic cobwebs. Let me know if you guys would like an in-depth tutorial on how to use the Webcaster. I'd be happy to work on that for you. Next up, we are heading over to the coffee bar. It was yet another beautifully gloomy, rainy autumn day, which is the perfect time for us to decorate the coffee bar. In natural fashion, I lit a festive candle and made myself a cup of Bones coffee, topped it with a glorious amount of whipped cream, and I got to work. Beforehand, I wiped everything down with my favorite Mrs. Meyer's spray, which is the acorn spice scent. The scent is heavenly and it lingers in the air for quite a while. I just love it and it really sets the mood. I started out building the tiered tray by bringing out items that I knew I wanted to use the most. This Rae Dunn mug, this faux whipped topper from Etsy, which I will link down below, as well as an array of my favorite spooky mugs. I recently had a request for a spooky mug collection video, so let me know if that's something you guys would like to see. After arranging a few of the mugs, I added in my favorite Bones coffee. Not sponsored, wish I was. I swapped out our Ninja pot this year for my beloved Keurig, and I used this open-mouthed jack-o'-lantern to house all of our Bones K-Cups for the season. Their caramel apple is the bomb.com. I then hung a few more mugs before moving on to adding more details to the tray. From the overall look of the font on the sign, to the vintage cat, to the polka dot straws. With every decor piece that I added, I was going for a Halloween carnival kind of a vibe, inspired by my favorite area in Halloweekend's Harvest Fear. I then added in some autumn leaf garland before styling the shelves. I loved incorporating these candy corn picks this year, and my idea for them turned out just as I had hoped. You can never go wrong with decorative picks. You can put them literally anywhere. Anywhere. I then hung this spooky circus banner to tie the whole theme together. No Halloween coffee bar is complete without fairy lights. Here's the newest member of our family, 𝗟cie𝘃𝗲, aka Toby, who wanted to join in on the fun. He is so curious and watches everything I do, much like our Mayhem did. He is the sweetest, and he has been such a blessing in our lives. My goal with the bottom of the bar is always to keep it functional rather than another showpiece, so I dress it up instead with some of my favorite seasonal foods and beverages with just a dash of decor. I added the last few touches to the tiered tray, and this was the end result. I am so thrilled with the spooky carnival theme. It really gives me the essence of Halloween, and my heart lights up every time I see it. Let's move on now to decorating my office/beauty room. The next day I decided to decorate my bar cart in my office as well as my vanity. First I started off as usual with the fall leaf garland, and then I added the orange fairy lights on top, and then I began playing around with some different items that I wanted to use this year. I took this bathtub that my mom's had for about 10 to 12 years now, and we painted it black, which made it so gorgeous. My overall idea for this bar cart was to make it kind of like a spa night bar cart, and I decided to use this bathtub to house all of my spooky bath bombs for the season, and then I added in this awesome teacup that I found at Big Lots of all places, and then this wooden haunted house shelf from the Target dollar spot, and I decided to use this for all of my fall skincare for spa night. I also decided to switch out the candle I was using so the color scheme would work better. I wasn't fully done with the top yet, but I did decide to move on to the bottom of the bar cart, another bottle of witch's brew wine, and these wine glasses that you know I always like to fill with candy corn, but I probably will be dumping that out and actually drinking the witch's brew out of it because, like I said, this is a spa night bar cart and we like to have a good glass of wine on a spa night. I just kept moving things around until it felt right, and I did switch out some items. I instead decided to use this little wooden spooky sign that my mother-in-law got us. It just fit in perfectly. It fit in perfectly. It even was lined with like an orange coppery color, and it was just so gorgeous and so perfect for this bar cart. I finally added in all of my spooky perfumes. This isn't all of the perfumes that I use during the season, but I put in the ones that matched the best and the ones that I do wear this time of year the most. And as much as I wanted to put my poison apple perfume on the bar cart, it just was not working aesthetically, so I put it as close to the bar cart as I could on one of my fragrance shelves, just so it could still be close enough to the display. Next, I moved on to decorating my vanity, which I've never done before, and this was so fun, you guys. I added in some orange fairy lights, which these ones I used here, I realized were just a little too small and dull for me. I eventually switched them out with a better pair of orange fairy lights, but this is what we were working with for now. And then I added in my Queen of Halloween sign as well as all of my eyeshadow palettes for the season. And then I just built the scene from there. I added in that October 31st pumpkin as well as that succulent skull on either side. And then I used that rock and roll skeleton hand that I raved about in my haul this year, and it fit perfectly. And then I continued to build from there. I just moved some things around and made it look a little more cohesive. And then I used the extra pedestal on my vanity to highlight my candle from Confectionery Soaps Co. I got the Candy Corn Kisses candle, and you guys, this thing does smell exactly like candy corn. It's amazing. And on the other side, I decided to create symmetry with that with the Confectionery Soaps Co. body spray that I got this year in the scent Spooky Season, which is so heavenly. I don't know how it took me this long to discover Confectionery Soaps Co., but I'm really glad that I did. Lastly, I decided to add in this incense burner from 𝗟cie𝘃𝗲. Not only does it serve a great purpose for spa night, but it's just gonna give a little extra spooky vibe with the smoke billowing from the cauldron. I don't know, man. As simple as it is, I am just in love with the top of my vanity right now. I mean, look at these vignettes. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. I'm really happy with how the bar cart and my vanity turned out this year, and I'm so excited to show you guys what everything looks like lit up at night at the end of the video. Moving on to our Art Deco living room, as usual, I decided to put on something really vibey, or vibey. I
I first got to work on the bar cart. I already had the velvet runner and artwork ready to go, so I started out with this amazing on-theme bottle of whiskey since it was the tallest item, then added in the beautiful 20s flapper statue as well as the magnificent smoked black glass candle pedestal. I finished off the top tier of the cart by adding in this Art Deco luminary from Joann's, as well as some crystal rocks glasses, marble coasters, and a few leftover black and gold cocktail napkins from our wedding, which I feel tied everything together. The bottom tier was a lot of fun as well. I started out with this skull tray from Michael's and used this black and gold Happy Halloween sign as a backdrop. I then added in these elegant skeleton hand wine glasses, a black and copper marble skull from Spirit Halloween, as well as one of our favorite bottles of wine. I incorporated this set of faux books, which was one of my favorite finds this year, a beautiful masquerade mask that we've had for many years that assisted in tying in some of the beige tones that I used, and finally a black velvet pumpkin to complete this classy Halloween aesthetic. I topped it all off by placing a few bats on the wall. This year I had picked up several new decor pieces, so it was a bit of a challenge to discover the best placement for everything in order to keep the decor chic and balanced, but after playing around for a while, it all finally came together. Moving on to the coffee table, I first laid down this gorgeous embellished spider runner, which I am in awe of every time I see it. I then added this decorative plate from At Home and created a centerpiece using these black and gold glitter pumpkins, this incredible candle sleeve from Bath & Body Works, which matches so well it's insane. I used black rocks as filler to complete the centerpiece and then moved on to the rest of the table. On the right, I used this marble decorative tray, which I adorned with this gold spider dish and a black marble pumpkin. I played around with a few more items to get a scene that I was happy with, and then moved on to the left side of the table. Here I highlighted one of our very favorite cocktail books, as well as this brushed gold skeleton bowl, which I filled with black cobwebs, and placed a white marble skull on top as a statement piece. Finishing off the tablescape, I added in some gold taper candle holders, as well as this I Lit the Black Flame candle to provide a spooky but romantic candlelit ambiance for our movie nights. I can't wait to show you guys how beautiful this area looks during the house tour at the end of the video.
It's finally time to decorate my very favorite part of the house, which is the Tiki Bar. We always go for a shipwrecked, undead pirate under the sea kind of theme down here, and it's so much fun to put together, so I'm actually going to let you guys just vibe out to this section music video style so you can truly soak in the ambiance and the mood down here, because it is just such a vibe. It is my favorite space to be, and I really hope that you guys enjoy this decorating process.
Finally, we moved on to the dining table. I put on Sleepy Hollow, and yes, yet again, on this evening, I grabbed another festive tasty beverage. I started off the dining table with this black velvet tablecloth, and then on top, I added this elegant black and silver spiderweb runner that was given to me by a good friend. I began the tablescape with this black glitter branchy wreath, as well as our most beloved black and silver candelabra to tie the color scheme together. I was so stoked to add in this gorgeous Gothic skull planter that I raved about in my haul, which I filled with my favorite black roses. On the opposite side, I added this matte blackbird cage that we painted with a crow placed inside. I then added in these two black glitter spooky trees to fill in the gaps and balance out the height of the candelabra. Next, I began laying a foundation of Spanish moss to create our cemetery theme. I got this Spanish moss off of Amazon, and believe it or not, it is actually really hard to work with. You have to have a lot of patience, and there's a lot of cleaning up as you go, but the end result is so worth it. Once finished, I began burying these aged and broken skull pieces amongst the moss. I inherited these from a family friend that makes amazing horror special effects pieces, and I knew immediately how I wanted to decorate with them. I've had this Gothic graveyard concept for our table since July, and I was so excited to see it finally brought to life. It does give me a bit of a Sleepy Hollow feeling. What do you guys think? I finished off the graveyard tablescape with some bits of green moss and black glitter spiders. Next, I set the table, and I felt it was a really elegant touch to wrap the napkins around the plates this year as opposed to draping them as I have in previous years. Once again, I added cobwebs and light up ice cubes to the cocktail glasses to give it that glowing, eerie, dry ice, bubbling fog effect. Of course, no Halloween dining table is complete without some spooky theatrical cobwebs. It's finally time to get into my very favorite part of this video, which is the montage of everything lit up at night. I hope you guys enjoy. natural fashion, we brought in all of the Halloween totes from the garage, and I sorted through everything to see what I wanted to use this year, and I swear every year it gets more and more overwhelming because of all these hauls that we're doing every year. Once I sorted through our massive collection, I did bring up everything that I knew for sure that I wanted to use. I did sort everything by color scheme, by theme, and by room to make the decor process a little bit easier. It just looks so aesthetic laid out though, doesn't it? Once everything was laid out, it was time to put on 𝓒𝓪𝓲𝓷, grab a very tasty festive beverage, and get started on decorating our piano. Every year we use our old piano to serve as kind of a mantelpiece since we don't have a fireplace, and we love to dress it up. I brought out our usual staples, and then I did one of my favorite things, which is to add these amazing twinkling fairy lights from Amazon into this luminary, and it's always the most aesthetic thing. I'm also bringing out this Halloween 2 looking pumpkin again this year, as well as this little, you know what, I don't know what to call it honestly. It's a little orange ball, okay? Looks like a moon with bats flying across, and it's got fairy lights in it, but I don't know what to call it. The black and orange witch and the raven on the stack of books is always a vibe, and of course, it is not Halloween decorating at Caitlin's house unless there is fall leaf garland literally everywhere. I just want to stress how much fall leaf garland will totally transform your Halloween decor. And if garland isn't enough and you want to add a little bit of extra spooky oomph, black feather boas will be your best friend. Honestly, my dress in this video looks like a giant feather boa, not gonna lie. It was a little over the top, but you know what? I wanted to kick off the season right, and I dressed for the occasion. Don't judge me. So I finished off the piano by adding in a few more statement pieces without going too crazy. And of course, to top it off, we gotta use these LED pumpkin lights that we got at Target many years ago. These have to be at least 15 years old by now. It's crazy. I love using them on our piano because they just look like they belong there, and it gives me a trick-or-treat vibe. But in real life, they do not flicker like this. They look amazing, and they give off this beautiful orange glow underneath the leaf garland, and I love it so much. So much. Next, I brought out the candle pedestal that I picked up from Bath & Body Works last year. I thought I'd bring in some green this year. I usually keep this space pretty monochromatic, just a black, white, and pops of orange. It added a little bit of extra something. This black velvet runner sure did make its rounds throughout the house this year. I need to buy more of them, I swear, but I do usually love to put it on our piano. I just think it really breaks up the monotony of the space, so the velvet adds like a deep black to that middle shelf, and it just gives it a little bit of extra dimension and depth, and it just adds a level of interest. I then added in this light up stack of jack-o'-lanterns, which I love so much. I feel like it's just such a classic piece. I brought out these 2 little vintage characters that I believe I bought last year, and I think they added just that classic spooky vibe. And then I couldn't resist the urge to sit down and play our piano for a moment. It had been a while, and it just felt so good to just take a little piano break. Can you guys guess what I was playing? The very last step is breaking out that Webcaster gun. It is one of my favorite parts of decorating for Halloween now. If you're going for a specific look with your cobwebs, these are going to give you those haunted house, theatrical horror movie cobwebs. For the past few years, everyone in the comments has asked me, is it hard to remove the cobwebs? And it's not. It's basically like dried hot glue, and it peels right off in big chunks. It's super easy unless it's on fabric. I am so excited to show you guys what this piano looks like lit up at night, but for now, we are going to move on to the coffee bar. Moving on now to the coffee bar, I was so excited to get started on elevating our Halloween carnival theme, so I made myself a very glorious, festive cup of Bones coffee, lit my very favorite fall candle for all of the vibes, and got to work. To kick off the Halloween carnival theme this year, I decided to make some balloons. Did not think that you could DoorDash a helium tank in 20 minutes, but it happened. I had so much fun making these balloons. I have never used a helium tank before, and it was amazing. I am definitely going to be using it for future parties. I made just enough balloons to go in the kitchen as a backdrop for our carnival vibe. Look how amazing they look. Nothing screams Halloween quite like a bunch of black and orange balloons. So once those were finished, finished, I also added a long strand of classic orange globe lights to the top of the kitchen with some fall leaf garland to truly create that Halloween carnival ambiance, and it truly transformed the room. Finally getting started on the decorating portion of the coffee bar. As usual, I started off by cleaning off the tiered tray with my very favorite Mrs. Meyer's spray in acorn spice. It just makes the kitchen smell absolutely heavenly. I started everything off with these vintage inspired Halloween mugs that I found on Amazon. They are one of the best purchases I made this year. I love them so much, and I highlighted my very favorite one on the tiered tray and topped it off with a faux whips topper that I got off of Etsy. I then started building from there by adding in a bunch of Halloween carnival inspired pieces, both old and new. And I knew this mug from Home Goods this year was going to fit in perfectly with those polka dots and the scalloped rim, and I used it to hold a bunch of circus themed straws. I kept slowly adding in different pieces, and then I just kept moving things around until the tray felt more balanced. I then added in some pumpkin spice liqueur that I got from Trader Joe's, and I finally found out what I wanted to do with that faux gumball machine from Target, and I filled it with a bunch of these very carnival circus-like candies from Amazon. They taste like licorice. And then I found the perfect use for my new open mouth jack-o'-lantern from 𝗟ci𝘃𝗲, and that is to house all of my K-cups for the season. Then I began wrapping up the top shelf with this beaded garland in the very perfect color scheme for what we're going for here. But then I realized I first needed to add some fall leaf garland because no Halloween tiered tray is complete without some amazing fall garland. Just look at how this fills the space and truly ties everything together. Look at what this leaf garland has done for this area. It's everything. It's everything and more. I deviated for a moment from the tiered tray to decorate the shelves above the coffee bar. I added in one of my very favorite trick-or-treat signs, as well as this vintage pumpkin, the Halloween countdown, which look how many days ago I filmed this segment, you guys. Oh my goodness, I've been working on this video for weeks. The candy corn picks have returned once again to create a Halloween explosion. You can never go wrong with picks and sticks and garland, you guys. They are just the perfect filler. I then added in this Halloween carnival banner to add even more filler to the space and give it more ambiance. And of course, my very favorite set of twinkling orange fairy lights from Amazon. Honestly, if you pick up anything to decorate with ever, it's got to be fairy lights, especially these fairy lights. They transform a space instantly into a Halloween paradise. I feel like these fall napkins fit in really well, and of course, no Halloween coffee bar is complete without some Bones coffee. Then I realized that I have this garland that I picked up from Michael's this year, which is absolutely perfect for this theme. I just felt like hanging it here was adding a little too much. It was a little too much up top, so you guys will see that I add it to the bottom shelf later. I then stocked the bottom two shelves with some of my favorite Halloween jars and spooky snacks. After a few final touches of decor around the kitchen to tie the theme together, we are finally done with our Halloween Carnival coffee bar. I hope you guys really enjoyed how I elevated this theme this year, and I'm so excited to show you guys what it looks like lit up at night. This year I decided to do something completely different in my office, and that is a Blair Witch inspired bar cart. Now I know this is not practical, but I really love themed areas, and the Blair Witch is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It is a tradition for me every summer and every October, and a few months ago I just decided that I wanted to do something completely different and theme an area around one of my favorite movies, so that's what I did. This is my little Caitlin Blair Witch project. I started out by making a bunch
bunch of stick figures for the very first time. This is the most fun I've had with a craft project in a really long time, and I made a whole evening out of it. I bought a lot of different supplies to make them. I did use some branches from outside, but I also ordered different materials that I could use to create some dimension on the stick figures. I added in these little bundles of branches, tied it on with some twine, hot glued some Spanish moss on top, and it really created the spookiest little stick figures. And I am just so pleased with this DIY. I had so much fun doing it. Please pardon my hot glue gun. It is literally from the 90s, and that is why I love it so much, because it's been there with me through hundreds of craft projects. We're a team, okay? I don't want to have to replace it if I don't have to. Having said that, let's get started on decorating the bar cart. So I made this poster in Canva that was inspired by the missing poster from the film. Also, this music you're hearing, I created myself. I didn't want to get copyright striked by using the Blair Witch music, so I made my own. I started out by adding the largest stick figure that I made since I already hung the others from the ceiling. I then added in some spooky trees, a Burkittsville candle from my favorite creator, 𝗟cie𝘃𝗲, as well as this very on-theme bottle of wine. Next, I added in the skeleton hand wine glasses that I love so much, as well as this vintage VHS tape that I got off of eBay. I know that I have a copy somewhere floating around in my house, but I've only been watching the DVD for years. I don't know if you guys think it's cheesy, but this is a movie night themed bar cart here. We're just going for straight up fun and an homage to the film here. And then I filled the wine glasses with marshmallows. If you know, you know. I then wanted to incorporate some dried leaves and twigs. On the bottom of the cart, I highlighted one of my favorite Halloween signs that we have, that burlap twine witchy vibe. And this bottle of Apothic Dark, has so many Blair Witchy elements to it. Like, look at it. It's got that owl for me, which represents Blair Witch 2. It's got the branches. It's just a whole vibe. And then I had to add the main books from the film that Heather talks about in the beginning, the Field Notebook and How to Stay Alive in the Woods. And then I decided to incorporate the mini stickman that I made down here, as well as the ceramic owl that we painted black, which again, for me, represents Blair Witch 2, because the scene with Kim and the owl, I think, is my favorite scene from Blair Witch 2. As a few final touches, I added in this grave in the back, just because I felt that it was a little bit bare, as well as this handheld camera. Now, this camera I bought in 2012 with the intentions of starting a YouTube channel back then. I filmed a bunch of videos and never felt comfortable posting them. Placed the camera on some dried leaves to give it that found footage vibe. I wanted to add some DV tapes, but I could not find them. I wanted to put them in the little bowl with the leaves. It would have been awesome. It would have been awesome, but I could not find my little tapes, man, so just pretend that they're there. I then added in some creepy cloth for a little extra dimension, and then I decided that I needed a pile of rocks, of course. So I added this pile of rocks that I collected at a beach earlier this summer and stacked them in a way that looked aesthetic, and I used them as a pedestal for my October Spell perfume. I then decided to add in a film slate. They use a slate a couple times earlier on in the film, and I really felt like the slate was necessary to tie the whole theme together. I hope that you guys enjoyed this segment of the video. I know it's a little bit different from what I usually do, but that was the point. I wanted to branch out and start doing more themed areas, since that is something that I really enjoy doing. I love paying homage to my favorite films, so this is just the beginning. Moving on now to the Art Deco living room, music video style. With this year's dining table, I wanted to take it back to our roots and create a dining area that is inspired by the way we used to decorate when I was a kid, with a little bit of a modern spin on it. So I started out by adding this jack-o'-lantern tablecloth, which we've had for at least 15 years now. So the black is actually a nice washed out vintage black, which is really cool. Since it is a bit old, I like to cover it with this spiderweb tablecloth on top, and it just really gives it a lot of creepy, cool dimension to it. I then added in this very interesting candelabra, which we bought many years ago, and it kind of looks like a cross between a wreath and a candelabra. At the end of the whole look, you'll see that I add fairy lights to it, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. I added in a few more traditional pieces. We've always used this Dracula mug on our table every year because it's just such a statement piece. The witch that I've added to the table is from the early to mid 90s. Many of you may recognize it. It's not Halloween unless I put her on our table, honestly. And we've always used this jack-o'-lantern lamp, which is literally from 1996. I love it so much. It is so spooky vintage, and it reminds me of this Halloween party we used to go to every year with our family, and those were the days, man. And then I continued on by adding these spiderweb placemats. They still are my favorite. I realize that I'm putting black on black and spiderweb on spiderweb, but you know what? I like that. It's a me thing, but I feel like it works. Now, growing up, we never used to do place settings on our Halloween tables, but this year I really wanted to because of these amazing plates that I found on Amazon this year that are so classically, perfectly vintage. It's insane. And I was so excited to set the table with these this year. You have no idea. Now, in the past, I've done slightly more theatrical decor for our dining area, using the Webcaster gun and creating a Sleepy Hollow inspired cemetery as a tablescape. But this year, I wanted to take it back to our roots and create a table that just screams vintage Halloween. In the background, you'll see that I've added an orange and black wreath, some creepy cloth, and that sign that I got this year from 𝗟ci𝘃𝗲. Once I put them in their proper places, I added in these amazing wine glasses that are just like that luminary that we have on the piano. They are copper inside, and when illuminated, they do create a very spooky, eerie glow. I then decided to add in these black and orange checkered napkins with the bat napkin holders, and I decided to fan them out this year and lay them across the plate, which I feel made it really fun and tied the look together. To elevate that green glow, I am adding in some green cobwebs on top to create that bubbling cauldron effect that I do love so much. At the end, I decided that the room was missing something, so I decided to do this crepe paper curtain at the top, and I feel like it really tied the whole backdrop together. Huge shout out to my mom for helping me hang the crepe paper. You're the real MVP. And then we realized that I had forgotten to put on the table runner. How fun, after I had just set everything, but we did find it. It really brought the table together. And then I switched out the middle orange candle with a black one, which I felt fit much better. And as I stated earlier, I added fairy lights to the bottom of the candelabra. We also added some corn stalks this year to our dining room with those orange opaque lights, and it just truly brought the area to life. So that is it for the dining portion. Moving on now to the Tiki Bar. Next, we are moving on to the Tiki Bar, and you guys know the drill with this one. This is always one of my favorite areas to put together. It's such a fun area and serves as a finale to me, so I'm just going to let you guys vibe out once again music video style, so I hope you enjoy. Finally, we've reached the very best part of this video, which is all of the decor lit up at night. I hope you guys enjoy. you guys have stuck to the end of this video, I just wanted you to know that I really appreciate you. You guys are the reason that I create these videos in the first place. For those that are just as passionate about the seasons and decorating as I am. If you're new to this channel and you enjoyed this marathon, go ahead and check out all the other videos on my channel. I think you might enjoy them. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a like and leave a comment down below which part of the video was your favorite, and consider subscribing to see more content like this in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay spooky.